Hello dear UPSC aspirants, and we are ready with our must-read articles of 10th January 2025. This initiative aims to reduce your newspaper reading time and bring content both relevant for both prelims and mains point of view. So let's start with the front page. Modi calls for documenting history of Indian diaspora. So articles relating to Indian diaspora has been coming since past 3-4 days regularly. This comes under paper GS2 Indian diaspora. Why have I chosen this article? Because Honorable PM Modi has mentioned that right here in Odisha is the place named 𝘿𝙤𝙪, which is a great symbol of peace. Emperor Ashoka had chosen the path of peace here while the world was expanding empires. He also talks about that India can say to the world today that the future lies in Buddha and not in war. So the question about 𝘿𝙤𝙪, elephant at 𝘿𝙤𝙪, art and culture, it was asked in 2015 art and culture to prelims exam, right? So we need to remember this prelims facts. He has also talked about that India today is voice of the global south and the world is patiently listening to what India says. So this statements can be used in the conclusion of a lot of international relations answers in GS paper 2. Let's move to the next page directly. So this article is about the death of a very brave journalist. It's a sad case, and the brave journalist Mukesh Chandrakar, who was from Bijapur and a very difficult area of Bastar district, who had his own YouTube channel and was bringing very important, inside news from Bastar, but was killed because he was, bringing a lot of truths of powerful people. So he gave his life for the sake of truth. You can use this example in a lot of theory questions of GS paper 4. Let's move to the next article. So this article has been mentioned in text and context 2-3 days back. Damage control for earthquakes, right? So recently a magnitude of 7.1 earthquake has happened in Tibet, and they are talking about the 2 deadly earthquakes of Nepal where 9,000 people died in 2015, right? So how is this happening? We all have read about the tectonic plates. The tectonic plates are constantly in motion, colliding with, diverging with, and sliding past one another. So they are called converging boundary, diverging boundary, and transform boundaries, right? So Indian plate is collide. Here it is the converging boundary in this case. So Indian plate is colliding with the Eurasian plate and the crust tilted upwards, creating the Himalayas. So what is happening here? So seismologists are estimating a lot of latent energy at these fault lines, and they are warning of a massive overdue earthquake in the Garhwal-Kumaon region, which is our Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh areas. So he's saying that we should insulate ourselves from the damage that will come from a big earthquake. So we should adhere to already existing building codes, not only in Himalayas but also in Indo-Gangetic plains, to save ourselves from recurrent landslide, glacial lake outbursts, wash away dams, and this, problems of hydropower projects. Right? Let's move to the next article. Now, this article is we need accessibility rules that are based on principles. This article talks about the disabled people, the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016 and the Right of Persons with Disabilities Rules 2017. This comes under GS paper 2, welfare schemes for vulnerable sections, here being disabled, right? So Supreme Court in Rajiv Raturi versus Union of India 2024 case held Rule 15 of the Rights of Persons Rules 2017 is violative of the Act. Why? Because Rule 15 says that these guidelines allow discretion to the ministries and departments, which is antithetical to the mandatory language of the Act. So some things are mandatory, but in rules they made it discretionary, which can, affect the rights of the people here, right? So here, this article you should see from 3 points of view. Some things are features of the Act, some things are limitations of the implementation of the Act, and some things are solutions. Some points are solution. So this is called. So here we are talking about feature. The court deliberated in detail on the difference between accessibility and reasonable accommodation, which is given here. Accessibility is now accepted as the right woven through United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. If question about disabilities come, mention this United Nations Convention also. So they are talking difference between accessibility and reasonable accommodation, right? So, and they are also offering solution here, that it is necessary to modify the nature, extent, and type of digitally accessible tools like AI, Internet of Things, which can ensure broader inclusivity. So in this ongoing technological world, disabled have right to this digital knowledge also, right? So how it will be available to them. So minimum accessibility threshold shall be envisaged on a sliding scale wherein the baseline moves forwards at periodical intervals. So you will have to keep moving the accessibility forward for the disabled section. Canada is a best example here. Canada has developed a comprehensive roadmap to achieve full accessibility by 2040, focusing on harmonizing standards across the country through 2 work streams with periodic reviews every 5 years to adapt to changing needs. Now there is another feature of RPWD Act, which is Rights of Person with Disabilities Act 2016. It defines barriers in the broadest form possible. It defines barriers in 2 ways. Intangible barriers like attitudinal problems coming from different parts of society, and the tangible barriers which is infrastructural barriers. So the government has to work in both areas, right? And the understanding of universal design has also evolved over time, and they have to work about it. And the other limitation is mentioned here. The lack of standardized guidelines, so there is no clarity on the scope and methodology of social audit. Social audit is also one of the feature of Section 48 of the Right of Persons with Disabilities Act mandates the center and state governments to regularly undertake social audits of all general schemes, that if they are harming or if they are not harming the disabled people. So these social audits are very important, and it is not being done regularly, and there is no clarity about it. So there is inconsistency, lack of awareness, and insufficient trainings of auditors. So bureaucratic complexity is also an issue, too many technicalities, contradictory accessibility mandates from multiple ministries. For example, in a sporting complex, some guidelines are coming from a Ministry of Urban Affairs, some housing, sports, transportation, and others. So this is leading to a lot of complex and overlapping guidelines. So new accessibility rules must be direct, understandable, the ambiguity should be addressed, and a nodal authority should be there, which probably should be Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, right? And private and public, both players should come here and work for their development. So let's move to the next article. A good article for disabled section if the question comes in the GS paper 2. Section 152 of Bharat Nyaya Sanhita should not become a proxy for sedition. Now this article talks about a balance between national interest and freedom of expression. So for example, in GS paper 2, a question comes about freedom of expression, article 19. So one of the challenges can be section 152. So section 152 of Bharat Nyaya Sanhita can be a way of stifling legitimate dissent, is said by Rajasthan High Court. It comes under GS paper 2, Indian Constitution. So section 152 of VNS talks about exciting secession, armed rebellion, subversive activities which can endanger sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. So the problem is these things are not defined in the statute. So when things are not defined, it can be interpreted by authorities in their own ways, and legitimate dissent of citizens can be discouraged. So they have talked about it, and they have given the concept of marketplaces of ideas as envisioned by Justice Holmes in Abrams versus United States. If there is not ideas coming, so there will not be an growth in democracy as it is supposed to be. 3 cases are mentioned: Balwant Singh and another versus State of Punjab, Javed Ahmed Hazam versus State of Maharashtra, and others 2024, Kedarnath Singh versus State of Bihar 1962, where court supported individuals' freedom of expression against the sedition charges of the government. So you can use these cases when the freedom of expression question comes. Let's move to the next page. So is India open to the idea of dual citizenship? So this article talks in our opinion of 2 Indian diplomats about citizenship, but I just want newcomers and people who are new to UPSC should know about the basic things of citizenship, which is under the Article 5 talks about the citizenship, right? So first, you all should know the difference between NRIs and PIOs. So NRIs are Indian citizens who hold Indian passports. They live outside and they have the facility of voting, so they can register themselves in the missions in the respective countries and can vote in the place of entitlements. PIOs are not Indian nationals, neither overseas citizen of India. They are not Indian citizens, right? So they will not have the political rights. And here they are talking about how, citizenship is mentioned under part 2 of the Indian Constitution. Article 5 mentioned who is a citizen of India by birth, parentage, or having remained a resident of India. Right? So they are also talking about Citizenship Act that came in 2019 that fast tracked the process of minorities from the neighboring countries to get the Indian citizenship. Right? And they're also talking about lot of Indian origin people who have been elected to House of Representatives in USA. So they're also mentioning a lot of outsiders who have taken and Indian citizenship. So basic thing here is, the Indian systems and law demand that the moment you acquire the nationality of another country, for example, if I take US citizenship, my Indian citizenship naturally is relinquished, right? So you relinquish, the law demand that moment you acquire the nationality of other country, you relinquish India's nationality, which means that you do not have political rights anymore in India. So India doesn't have dual citizenship. There are several examples where people have given their citizenship of different countries and taken in citizenship of India. Example is Mother Teresa, Mira Alfasa, known as the mother whose work inspired many and who founded the Aurobindo Ashram in Puducherry. Mother Teresa we have mentioned, an economist, Jean Drèze, who have come here. And they're also talking about US, where you cannot become a president even if you are a citizen unless you are born in the territory of US. So Elon Musk, who was born in South Africa, cannot become the president of US. So these are some interesting facts you should know about. Let's move to the next article. So this article, we don't have to go much in detail. I have just taken this article so that you can remember and read the concepts of Indian economy, decoding India's growth, slowdown, GS paper 3, Indian economy, mobilization of resources. So what are topics they are being talked about? So recently, the advanced estimates of Indian GDP has gone down. The growth rate they are expecting is less. So you should know first the difference between the nominal GDP and real GDP, how it is differentiated. So deflator is also a inflation parameter with which reduces nominal GDP to real GDP. So the appropriate price to deflate GDP by type of activity is the producer price index. But what is happening in India, the GDP deflator being used in India's official estimate is weighted average of wholesale and retail price indices instead of producer price index. So this is leading to very volatile deflator. Volatile. So sometimes, although the nominal GDP growth has not increased, but real GDP has reflected the growth acceleration. Here they have also talked about union budget has relied entirely on revival of the private corporate capex cycle, and they have announced Prime Minister's package for employment and skilling with outlay of $2 trillion, benefiting 41 million youth over a 5-year period for employment-linked incentive subsidy. It's an internship program for 1 crore youth in 5 years. So they want to create massive job creation by acceleration of private corporate investment, right? So they're expecting a lot of private investment, but the article is saying private investment is not coming as is expected by the government. Fiscal deficit is also mentioned. You should know about what are the data of fiscal deficit. 5.6% was in 2023-24, 4.9% they are targeting in 2024-25, and 4.5% in 25-26, right? And this is it for this article. That much is required. Let's move to the next page. This is an illegal case of rat hole mining. It comes under, again, GS paper 3 disaster. Stubborn water level affects coal mine rescue operations. So 8 miners are trapped inside rat hole mine in Assam, right? And so many agencies are trying to help them, for evacuation. Deep divers from Indian Navy, personnel from Army, National Disaster Response Force, SDRF, State Disaster Response Force, PSUs like ONGC, Coal India Limited, and District Administration, all are trying to help them. But it is becoming very difficult because of the water that is filled in these holes. Let's move to the next article. This is also not important. It will come in coming days, then we'll cover it in detail. So this is an important article for today. India releases compilation of 10,000 human genomes from 83 population groups. The Genome India database will be available to researchers across the world. It will serve as a template for investigations into disease and drug therapy. PM says it will strengthen biotech economy. This comes under the syllabus of GS paper 3, achievements of Indians in science and technology, right? So India has made available this year-long compilation of 10,000 human genomes, which is 2% of countries, 46,000 population groups, right? The Genome India database, which is, as it is known, researchers across the world can use it, and is housed at the Indian Biological Data Center, IBDC, in Faridabad, Haryana. So these points you should know about it, right? So biotech economy, PM Modi has mentioned about, and it can hold the potential for targeted clinical intervention, advancing precision medicine for better healthcare. Let's move to the next article. We'll directly go to the science page. Nothing much is there today, and we'll be finishing our newspaper analysis of today. Only few key terms we can hear. Periodic screening required to avoid sudden cardiac deaths in athletes. So since Olympics has just gone, some medical terms related to it we should know. During vigorous physical activity, there is a substantial increase in the sympathetic nervous system activity. So in predisposed individuals, this can lead to trigger arrhythmias. Please search what is arrhythmias, which can lead to sudden cardiac arrest and sudden cardiac deaths. So you should read about it, right? So the World Athletics Health and Science Department, which is based on International Olympic Committee guidelines, recommends a pre-participation medical evaluation, PPME, pre-participation medical evaluation. A study into the benefits of PPME demonstrates a drop in incidence of sudden cardiac deaths by 90% in young athletes. They also found that most deaths are in athletes under 35 are due to congenital cardiac issues, right? So all these can be checked before they are going to play the game. So that's it for today. Thank you.